U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who was elected as House Speaker after many rounds of divisive voting for the position of Speaker, has removed three prominent members of Congress from their positions on various committees. Congressman Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff of California, also removing Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota from the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Now, I mentioned Adam Schiff. Of course, he was the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee before that, serving as the ranking member of that committee, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. Again, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy removed him from that position, despite him serving on it for a long while. Congressman Adam Schiff is also now running to represent the people of California in the U.S. Senate. Currently, Schiff is running against fellow Democratic Congresswoman Katie Porter. I spoke with Adam Schiff earlier in an exclusive conversation, and here is that interview. Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you for joining me.
Good to be with you.
Let's just start out. You are obviously running to represent the people of California in the U.S. Senate. Of course, you've served on the House Intelligence Committee for a long while, and you've served as the representative for California's 30th Congressional District for a long while. What can those collective experiences ultimately do in order to benefit the people of California, with you being in the U.S. Senate? How can you use that prior experience to benefit the people of California?
Well, as the chair of intelligence, I have been at the center of the fight to preserve our democracy over the last several years, investigating the former president's misconduct vis-a-vis Russia and Ukraine, leading the first impeachment trial of Donald Trump to the first bipartisan vote to convict a president in U.S. history, and then participating in the January 6th committee's hearings into the insurrection. I think this gives me a strong basis to continue championing our democracy, but I've also been a powerful advocate for making the economy work for everyone. I think these two issues are really intertwined. The fact that unemployment may be low, but people are still unable to keep a roof over their head. They're working, but not making enough to get by. That millions of middle-class families are desperately concerned about falling out of the middle class. These are core issues for those that are trying to provide for their family and make a go of it and enjoy the American dream. I want to be their voice in the U.S. Senate.
And Congressman, on the topic of the House Intelligence Committee, with you being removed from that committee by Kevin McCarthy, what kind of a precedent does this set that the Republican Speaker of the House is removing people off of a committee for reasons that at this point in time seem to be, purely political in a sense?
Well, it's really unprecedented for a speaker to try to decide which Democrats or which members of the other party should be leading a committee representing the other party. I wasn't just reappointed to the Intelligence Committee, but was named by Hakeem Jeffries on behalf of the Democratic Caucus to be the lead Democrat. So that's an unprecedented interference with the minority party's right to decide who should lead its own efforts. Even more significant, though, is the fact that by politicizing the personnel on the Intelligence Committee the way McCarthy is, it will cause the intelligence agencies to distrust Congress, not want to share important information. Similarly, the formation of this select committee on the so-called weaponization of the federal government, this Orwellian-sounding creation by McCarthy that will have access to intelligence, will also breed distrust among the agencies that McCarthy is using intelligence for a nakedly partisan reason, and that has real national security repercussions.
And of course, Congressman, you were really the center of attention for a long while with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy removing you from the House Intelligence Committee. How can you continue to express not only your beliefs, but fight for the interests of the people in California's 30th district, with your voice being absent on the House Intelligence Committee?
Well, on intelligence matters, I'm still able to attend briefings for the House, as I did this morning on that Chinese surveillance aircraft, so I can still very much participate in national security issues. But Hakeem Jeffries also asked me to serve, to take his spot on the Judiciary Committee, which I had served on previously. So I now have a senior position on the Judiciary Committee, where I can push back against Jim Jordan's efforts to use that committee to push out, propaganda, to explore deep state conspiracy theories. And two, I can use my perch on that committee, or my perch on that committee, to defend the rights of Americans from a Republican majority, which is trying to outlaw reproductive freedom, roll back civil rights, attack voting rights. I will be an important voice for Californians and all Americans on that committee.
And Congressman, just lastly, before we conclude, obviously with the Republicans now in the majority, there's obviously going to be a different set of priorities put forward than what the Democrats put forward in the last session of Congress under former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. I guess I'm just wondering, Congressman, how can you as Democrats continue to pass the legislation that you want to pass the legislation that your constituents want passed if the Republicans are in fact in the majority?
I think we got a really good sense of the contrast between the priorities of the different parties during the State of the Union. When President Biden talked about our passage of the Inflation Reduction Act and the most vigorous attack on climate change in our history, the passage of the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the most significant investment in rebuilding our roads, highways, renewable energy, superhighway, broadband, in our modern history, the investment in the Science and Chips Act that will bring new manufacturing jobs, high-tech manufacturing jobs back to the United States. As the president was rattling off all the things that we did in the last 2 years, the Republicans sat silent. This is not their priority. Their priority apparently is endless investigations of Hunter Biden's laptop and these deep state conspiracy theories. That's not what the American people need. We're going to still try to get things done. The president indicated his willingness to work across party lines to get things done. But at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any appetite among the party of Kevin McCarthy and George Santos and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, Paul Gosar. They seem to be run by crazy people right now. And as long as that's the case, it'll be hard to address some of these big issues.